Okay, so being honest, I looked at the beginning part of this problem when I assigned it as the one that I wanted you to take a picture of, and then I said to myself, that looks great. And then I realized there were some issues with it. So what I wanted to do is take a minute to go through what problem 29 on page 39 looks like so you get a chance to kind of figure out what sorts of things are going on. I know there's some people that are struggling with this, and I don't want that to be a big issue. So just to kind of take you through this, it says, if the height h of a triangle is 3 inches less than the length of the base b. So first off, I'm just going to draw a quick triangle so we kind of have our heads around it. All right. So anytime we're dealing with a triangle, we have got a height, we have got a base, and that's kind of all we're going to be talking about because it looks like we're dealing with this in terms of area. Okay. So height equals 3 less than the base. So b minus 3. And I'm just going to kind of keep these off on the side. So we've got a way of looking at this. The area of the triangle is 19 times the length of the base. So A equals 19B. All right. Now we want to find B and we want to find H. Okay, it's a little messy, but we can kind of play with this a little bit. What I tend to do when we've got all of these things that are here is to say, okay, if we see what is the variable that they all have in common. We've got a B here, we've got a B here, we've got a B here. So we kind of want to try to put everything in terms of B. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is to go with the bigger problem here of area and to say what I know from the formulas is that we know that when I'm talking about the formula for the area of a triangle, it is 1/2 the base times the height. Okay. So I'm going to do that first substitution in here. I'm just going to rewrite this. 1/2 times the base times the height is equal to 19 base. Okay. We all good so far? All right, cool. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to do this in just a second, is I'm going to substitute in this h here with the b minus 3 because I want to make sure that I have it in a place that all of the things are in terms of the same variable. Now, this 1/2 out here makes me a little itchy. So what I want to do before I do anything else, because I don't even want to sub in, is to take both sides of this and to multiply it by 2 so that I can cancel that out, just have b times h is equal to, in this case, 38b. All right, now it's the same problem, but sometimes dealing with what to do with a fraction later is a pain in the butt, and I'd rather get rid of it now than have to worry about it later. We're just moving everything around anyways. All right, so now this b minus 3 here, I'm going to substitute in for my h. I'm going to use a set of parentheses. B minus 3 is equal to, there's a b, there's 38b. We now have an equation in terms of all of the same variables. Now here is where I feel like I fell down a little bit on this problem in assigning it to you. When I multiply these, I'm going to get a b squared. Now that is a quadratic, and we have solved them. We did that for as a part of the summer homework, but it's been a while, and I didn't want to have this be the opportunity for us to do this as a place where it was like, here's the one problem you're going to show me, because there's a lot of places to make some mistakes. So there's a couple ways you can address this. What I'm going to do very quickly is to sort of take you through the long way, and then I'm going to take you through the short way in terms of what we're going to do with this, okay? The longer way, and so this is sort of our breaking point. I'll set this off to the side. This is the way that mathematically you should do it. I should distribute this. So we'll have b squared minus 3b is equal to 38b. Now, the other thing that's important for us to understand when we do this, okay, when we're working through this, if I have a b squared, I'm going to have to set it equal to 0 and factor to find my solutions. So in the case of something like this, I'm going to have to bring this over to this side so that everything is on the same side with this one. And so if I subtract 38b from both sides, I'm going to get b squared minus 41b is equal to 0. Now, this doesn't look like a trinomial, but they both have a b in common. If I factor that out, b times b minus 41 equals 0, which means one or the other of these things is going to have to be 0. So either b equals 0, or, in the case of this, b minus 41 equals 0. Now, let's just think for a second. If b equals 0, that would mean if I went all the way back up here, not only would this distance be 0, this height would be 0 minus 3 or negative 3. That is impossible based upon the physical realm that we exist in. Any of you guys can figure out how to make a negative distance? Please share that with me so that we can sell it together and make millions of dollars. This one, however, when I solve for b, is going to be a much better opportunity for us to work with this, because if I move the 41, we know that the base length is 41. And that's something that's probably easier to deal with. If we know that that's 41, we can go all the way back up at the top and say my height is going to be 41 minus 3, or 38, and now I've got everything that I'm going to need. I know 38, I know 41, and I'm done. What you could have done initially, if you wanted to, that would have made this a little bit easier, is there's a recognition that if I divide out a b from everything, because they all have it in common, like I have it here, if I divide a b out at this point, that's going to take away my opportunity to say that b is equal to 0. And since we know that can't work in this problem, that's fine. It's a little harder to think of that from a foresight perspective, but it's not terrible. So you could either divide out b's here, or if you get to this stage where it looks like this, I can actually bring the b to the other side and say if b squared is equal to 41b, and I divide both sides by b, I'm going to get that b is equal to 41. Now here's the thing. That happens to work in this instance. It doesn't always work that way. And mathematically, this is a solution to the equation. And that's the reason why it's a little bit off to be able to do something like this. And that's the reason why when we're saying it, you got to do your best to solve it. I didn't mean to give you one of these that was a quadratic. It's something that I would have built up a little bit more before this. But with that being said, I think we have a decent idea as to what was happening now. Do turn in whatever work you had. I want to give you an opportunity to sort of get the points for that to look at it, but I did want you to see what you can do with this and sort of why it works this way. So that being said, thank you.